The American War of Independence in the 1700s was an uprising. It produced the liberty that America proudly preaches today. It produced fundamental social, political, and economic reforms, which led to the British exiting what is now called the United States of America. The 1789 revolution in France against the monarchical system of oppression by King Louis produced fundamental social, political, and economic reforms which still stand to this very day. For any uprising or revolution, a mass gathering of people to express their disgust and dissatisfaction with a certain system of oppression must produce fundamental reforms, especially in the faculties of the social, political, and economic establishments. We are weighing the impact of the protests that started on May 26th, following the murder of our brother, George Floyd. Because it is not enough for people to be out on the streets every day protesting and not harvest any tangible, physical, foundational, fundamental, social, political, and economic reforms. Pulling down statues is just one tiny bit, because the statues are simply embodiments of the underlying systems of oppression. Because we can protest all we want, and the system has an allowance. It has got a provision that allows people to come out and protest peacefully against what they deem a form of oppression or injustice. So, I pose the question to every protester that is out on the street. What forms, what reforms, what impact have the protests had? What have we harvested so far? What have you harvested as a person that protests every day? Do we see any movement in the direction of social, political, and economic reform in the American establishment? Because if that element, the most important aspect of any uprising or revolution, which is reform, if it is missing, then it means that we are simply running around in circles. It means that the establishment is simply waiting for people to get worn out, for them to be affected economically, and then they will go home. And then they will return to the former system. And by the way, the latter situation is going to be worse than the former if there is no social, political, and economic reform. So I would like us to reason together. Do you see any movement, any movement in the direction of social, political, and economic reform ever since the protests began in May? Because if those things are lacking, believe me, we are going back to the same system of oppression, and the same things are going to keep recurring over and over again, because the system has got an allowance, it has got provision for protest. How badly do you want change? I pose the question to you. How badly do you want the foundations of oppression to be uprooted from the roots? Because how badly you want it will determine how badly you pursue it. So I will leave you to drop your comments below and tell me if indeed you see any sign, because I'm not in America, only you can be able to educate me. I can't rely on what I see on BBC and Al Jazeera and CNN. I cannot rely on any of that. So you'll be the ones to tell me if indeed you see any direction in the area, any movement in the direction of fundamental social, political, and economic reforms. Thank you for watching.